If she goes, she didn't hear that.
It's time that we can come together to discuss the business of the Marlboro County Board of Education. Let everything that we do and everything that we say be pleasing to you and also uplift this school district. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Need a motion to call the meeting to order.
Mr. Chair, I move call the meeting to order.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Marlboro County Board of Education special call meeting is now called to order. Notification to the media has went out. Media, thank you for being here. Okay. Now I need approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Okay. Motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a second?
I second.
Have any discussion? Isn't any? All in favor? Let it be known by raising your right hand. Agenda has been approved. Public session, board action item, board business item, financial update from the South Carolina Department of Education, Dr. Michael Thorson, South Carolina Department of Education Technical Assistance Provider. How you doing, Dr. Thorson?
Doing great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe we're going to get a presentation put up here in just a second. All right. So for those of you just getting here, we had a power outage a little while ago, so we'll try to get situated.
Thank you for your patience. Again, we had a power outage just for about an hour or so we're just getting cranked up. Hopefully get it together soon.
Okay. Oh, okay.
That's fine. I can still see that.
Okay. See that, Dr.
Can
Troy?
we, that's fine with me. Can we make the entire screen
Okay.
so it's not showing the? I think that might help the folks in the audience to see it. Ah, perfect. Thank you. So my name is Michael Thorsland. I'm a retired school district superintendent, and I was hired by the South Carolina Department of Education as a technical assistance provider to come down and just learn and see if I could be a liaison between the school district and the State Department in an attempt to get Marlboro County School District back on solid financial footing. And we're here tonight to just present publicly to all the board members, but also to the community, just to give a clear picture of where we are budget-wise. And I'm not sure, can we advance the slide? Okay, so we just want to make everyone aware of exactly where we are. I know most folks are aware that the State Department of Education did take financial control of the school district, but we want to put some numbers to that and give maybe a little bit of an understanding as to why there may be a financial crisis here. So if we can go forward one more, actually two more. Just to recount some recent history, in 2022, there was a physical watch designation for Marlboro County School District. That physical watch continued in 23 and 24 because of issues with the audit. And just for those who may not be as familiar with school district finances, every school district in South Carolina has to have an audit every school year. That's just to make sure that solid financial practices are being followed and just to assess the overall financial health of school districts. So those audit findings caused a physical watch. And then in 2024, a deadline was missed for turning in the audit. And as a result, the audit, I believe, was in April of this year that should have been December 1st of 24. And that caused the State Department to declare fiscal emergency due to that late audit submission, as well as 3 prior years of fiscal declaration status, fiscal watch status.
Quick question.
Yes,
The
sir.
2022 physical watch due to audit findings, was that at the beginning of the school year or the end of the school year 2022?
I honestly do not have the exact
All right.
time on that. I can get that to you
Thank
at a
you.
later
Thank
time.
you very much.
And then as far as 2025, you can go forward, please. In February, the emergency declaration due to the late audit submission took place. In April, there was an audited financial statement submitted to the State Department. Again, that was 5 or 6 months late. May, a corrective action plan was submitted by the district and approved by the South Carolina Department of Education. In June, there were State Department officials that visited the district to ensure implementation of the corrective action plan, as well as to try to address some budget concerns. And in June 30, Marlboro County School District presented the budget to the State Department of Education, and it did show that the fund balance had dropped from over almost $15 million at the end of fiscal year 2022 down to $7,370,000 at the end of 2024. So in 2 years, the fund balance had been cut in half. And that you'll see in a couple of slides forward that's gone down even further, we estimate. So July 8th, the Department of Education sent a letter to the school district urging a renew of increased staffing levels combined with declining student enrollment, a review of the increased staffing levels. And you'll see that a lot more clearly here in just a couple of slides. But the student population in Marlboro has declined fairly significantly over the last 15 or so years, but staffing levels have not matched. And in general, in school districts, the number of staff members and the number of students should run kind of a parallel path. July 18th, fiscal emergency takeover was approved by the State Board of Education. And then July 21st, the Department of Education contracted with a financial consultant, Ms. Angela Grant, who's a retired school finance official in South Carolina. And then August 20th, I contracted with the State Department as the technical assistance provider here in Marlboro. And if we could go on to the next slide. I will say that these numbers, while pretty close to accurate, I'll say when I was looking at the prior year audits to get some of these numbers, and then I compared those to some of the minutes from school board meetings, there could be a little bit of a discrepancy because I'd get different numbers depending on which source I was looking at. But the most important column, I think, is the far right column, which is the fund balance column. And you can track that that would be June 30th of 2019. So when you look at the fund balance, it's going to be June 30th of the second year of whatever row that is. So we've got just over $5 million, June 30th of 2019. And then, of course, COVID hit, and the federal government responded to COVID by giving school districts truckloads of money. And many school districts saw almost all school districts saw increased revenue during the COVID years. And you can see that was very helpful to the Marlboro County School District fund balance because over those COVID years, the fund balance grew from $5 million up to a high number of $14,800,000, so almost $15 million at the end of fiscal year 2022. That was the high point, and you can see then it dropped a couple of million and then dropped $5 million 23-24. And the blue number down there, the last one on the far right column, is an estimate based on where we think the audit's going to be. But the audit should be turned in the next month to 6 weeks, and then we'll have a firm number there. But we anticipate the fund balance for June 30th of this year, 2025, coming out to be about $5.5 million. So just under $2 million less than where it was a year ago. The problem is the negative trend. So this would be 3 straight years of a declining fund balance to the tune of about $9 million. Yes, sir.
The actual expenditures in 2022, 23 went up from 31 to 40. And
yes.
45.
Yes.
That's a pretty good increase.
That's a huge increase, but that's not atypical for school districts during the COVID years. That was 22, 23 would still reflect a lot of the COVID spending from the federal government. So I would call that an anomaly, not an anomaly for school districts as far as year-to-year spending. And I would not say Marlboro County was an anomaly during that time. That was pretty consistent. I don't have percentages, and I can't say Marlboro spent more or less than other school districts in South Carolina, but 22, 23 was that was a result of COVID spending. So a lot of school districts spent money on capital projects and different initiatives during COVID just because there was such a windfall of money from the federal government.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the main thing I want to get across here is that we just have to reverse a negative trend. In 3 years, we've seen approximately $9 million of fund balance used, leaving us with maybe 5.5. And 3 more years like that, and we'd be negative. 2 more years like that, we'd be negative. So we've got to reverse that trend. And we have studied a little bit about what might be able to be done to reverse that and to get Marlboro County on solid financial footing. So the next slide is current cash flow. And I do want to take just a couple of minutes to try to give an explanation of how fund balances work and why they're necessary in school districts. So most of us have a monthly budget as individuals. We have some sort of income coming in from a job or retirement or disability or whatever, but that money typically comes in monthly. And then we have monthly expenditures as individuals too, whether it be a mortgage or a car payment, your cell phone bill, those types of things, they all come monthly. So as long as your income exceeds your expenditures, you're in good shape. They can even match. They just can't stay upside down very long, or you have to take it from a savings account. So maybe 1 month I have a car breakdown and something else happens. Maybe I get hurt and I have an unexpected doctor bill. So for a month, my expenses may exceed my income, but again, that can only be, month to month. That can't be continual. And we have savings accounts for times like that. So I have a savings account that's not part of my monthly income, but it's for emergencies. That's somewhat what a school district fund balance is kind of the district savings account. However, the difference in school district funding and maybe our personal accounting is not all the money comes in month to month. So in Marlboro County, I looked at the most recent audit, and I think the numbers were high 20s for state revenue, high 20 million, so like 27, 28 million for state revenue, and then it was 10 or 11 for local ad valorem taxes. All right, the state money that we get as a school district comes in generally 1/12 at a time. All right, so the state says if Marlboro County is getting $28 million this year, they take that number, divide it by 12, and we'll roughly get 12 payments of that amount of money for most of our state funding. That's good. That's consistent because what we get from the state, we turn around and then pay to our employees and pay our bills. The problem for school districts comes in with ad valorem taxes. Those do not come in monthly. The majority of local taxes are paid to school districts January, February. So that $10 million, $11 million that Marlboro County School District gets from the local tax office, that comes in, a little bit of it comes in monthly. Most of it comes in, we would get it in January or February. All right, so that means that we have to have a fund balance because we know August, September, October, November, we're going to be paying out more than we bring in. So we know for those months, we're going to have to use that fund balance just to make payroll and pay our utility bills. That's the reason for a fund balance. Now, sometimes school districts don't have fund balances that are adequate to fund those lean months in the fall and early winter. So that you've heard the word TAN, tax anticipation note. It just means we don't have enough in our fund balance to get us through October, November, December. So we're going to borrow money. A TAN is a short-term borrowing. We're going to borrow it, let's say in October. We're going to pay it back in March. So we don't pay a lot of interest, but you still pay interest. So it's best for a school district to have enough money in the fund balance so that you never have to pay. You never have to even get a TAN. And then you don't incur that interest cost. And it's just better for the financial health of the school district. With Marlboro County having $5.5 million, again, that's an estimated number. I don't want anyone to think those numbers are exact, but that's an estimated number. You can see in July, we spent $1.7 million, but our revenue was very, very small because state revenue hadn't started coming in at that time. We had very little in local tax revenue. So it was a lean month. We paid out a lot more than we brought in. Even in August, you can see $3.8 million spent, September $3.4 million spent, and our revenue was smaller. Now, some of the state revenue is not monthly. So the tier money that comes in, back 2007, Act 388, when they took some of the local tax money and converted it to the tier funding. But we will get a tier payment, I believe, in this month that will show up in November that will certainly help that revenue number. But you can see with our expenses exceeding our revenue this time of year, we're down to an estimated $500,000 in fund balance. Now, the scary part is we also have several bills at the district office that we've not paid to PEBA, the Public Employment Benefit Authority. And if you look at our balance in those bills, we're negative right now. So that's why it's important to have a larger fund balance than what we have. Fortunately, Ms. Grant has reached out to PEBA, and we're working on a plan to get that paid back and get up to date on our bills. But right now, our net cash position is negative because we have not paid some of those bills to PEBA that we need to pay. I certainly don't want to cause panic, but I also want to be realistic. I mean, we've had conversations about what is the November payroll going to look like? Are we going to have enough money in the bank to make payroll? And I think we will. We're working with the State Department to come up with a plan to make sure nothing catastrophic happens. But, worst case scenario for a school district would be you don't have enough money in the bank to pay the employees. Because generally in school districts, 85 to 90% of the expenses of the school district are people, salaries, and benefits. And that's the way it should be. We're a people business. But it would be pretty terrible not to be able to pay the people who are taking care of the kids in our county. So anyway, that is our attempt to be as accurate as we can at this time. And you may wonder, why can't you be exactly accurate with those? Well, because in a large organization, expenses are being made every day. And even employee changes, somebody resigns and somebody else comes in and their salaries are a little bit different. So that it's just, that's ballpark and it's pretty accurate, but it is not. It's not audited amounts by any means. You go to the next slide. So this is a graphic just depicting the student enrollment decline over the years. So I went back as far as 2008, and you can see there were 4,748 students. So just under 5,000 students in 2008. And that number has declined to 3,238. And that number was accurate as of a couple of weeks ago in Power School. The county population has declined during that same time period, but percentage-wise, the school district's population has declined almost, well, a little bit more than double what the county population's declined. So 14% across the county, 32% decline in the school district. Now, that's important to a financial discussion because we mentioned all that state funding and how it's nice that it comes in 1/12 at a time, so we get most of that state funding each month. But it's based on the number of students you have. So when your student population's going down, while state funding has gone up immensely in the last several years, teacher pay has gone up 30% in the last several years. So state funding has come in much higher, but when your student population declines, that kind of offsets that increase. So this is where I said earlier, when student population declines, in general, the number of employees needs to decline as well. And that's where the anomaly has occurred in Marlboro County. As student population has declined, employee population has increased. And the next two slides will be demonstrations of that. I didn't collect this data, it was given to me, but Dillon 4, of course, is the neighbor to the south. And you can see over, 4 years difference. Student population has declined in both districts. Over that 4 years, students have declined 9.2% in Marlboro, but 6% in Dillon. So we've seen a similar decline in student population. Teachers have gone up 22% in Marlboro. They also went up in Dillon. And if there's going to be a category of employee that goes up when student population goes down, teachers, that's a good category to go up. Anytime we've got employees who their job is spent daily with students in the classroom, interacting with students, that's not a category that it wouldn't be a huge red flag to me that the number of teachers has gone up, because that's a good thing. It means we're getting smaller class sizes, we're getting more individualized instruction. However, I will say 21% with a 10% decrease in students, that's probably a little bit out of kilter for most school districts. But the other district staff, those two rows tell a very different picture. I would say Dillon 4's row there for other district staff is probably what it should be. You see their student population go down 5.96% and their other district staff went down 5.47. However, in Marlboro, the other district staff over that time period has gone up almost 37%, 36.5%. That's why we're here. That's why there's a budget problem. As simple as I can put it. The next slide, I did collect this information over the last couple of days, and I've asked Ms. Quick to give you a more detailed picture of this. This is if we can go to the next one there, 45. So the reason I picked those three districts, just to let you know, I went to the State Department website and looked at the number of students in all South Carolina districts. You can see there on this particular chart from the State Department, Marlboro had 3,307. I know that's a little bit different from what I told you a while ago, 32 and some change, but student population is a daily figure. It changes every day with students enrolling and disenrolling. So that was from 2024, I think. But I took the next three school districts who are larger than Marlboro. So I didn't skip any. I just took the next three in order from Marlboro, and they were Anderson 2, Lexington 4, and Union. And I did get on the phone. So I went to their websites, looked at their district staff, and I tried to compile the number of employees they have in their district offices. I then called. I actually talked to someone from each of those offices to confirm that my numbers were correct. So I looked at superintendent's office, curriculum and instruction offices, special education offices, human resources, student services, finance, technology, operations, and transportation. Those are the district level offices that I looked at. I did exempt food service and maintenance. Food service is not paid for out of the general fund. That's why I left it out. And maintenance, some of it's paid in the general fund, but sometimes parts of maintenance departments are paid out of capital money, 8% money. So I wanted apples to apples, so I excluded those. And I'll give you an example of why maintenance would not be a good comparison. Recently, you approved hiring 4 grass cutters, in-house employees, and they cut all the schoolyards here in Marlboro County. If another district contracted that out and paid it as a contract, it wouldn't show up as an employee where it shows up as an employee here. So to make sure it was apples to apples comparisons, I left out food service and maintenance.
Well, let me make sure I'm understanding you. What you're saying is, over the last couple of years or whatever, we have increased, not replaced. We have increased almost 50 teachers. We have increased almost 100 district personnel, not replaced. We've increased.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll make sure I'm understanding you. Okay.
Yes. And
Excuse me.
this, yes, sir.
Mr. Jiggs was saying the last couple of years, but your numbers show only 16 from other district employees from year 22, 23, 24, and 24, 25. You only show 16 employee increase on other district
Go
staff.
back to that slide if you want.
So that previous
that
slide
slide
was
for me.
3 years.
Right.
That was 3-year change.
Right. That's what.
Yeah. So we're certainly not saying from last year to this year.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's a 3-year change.
That's what I was making reference to, where it says 406 and 24, 25 and 23, 24. It was
22, 23 was 304 for other district.
Right.
Now it's 406 in 2 years. And that's what I'm saying, I think. That I'm saying there's been over 100 district in staff increased in 2 years. Am I not reading that correct?
That's exactly how
Okay.
you're reading it correctly. Yes, it has increased. Yes, that's why I colored that cell, highlighted that cell, because that, more than any of the other cells on that chart, that's the one that would be very atypical for a school
And
district.
let me follow up on what I said. Again, that is not replacements. That is additional
That's,
employees.
you are correct.
In 2021, 22, we had 300. 2022, 23, we had 304. Then we added.
We did.
Correctly?
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right, and if we go forward to the next slide again, I spoke to 2 superintendents and 1 kind of an assistant superintendent in Union, and I feel confident that these numbers are accurate. So let me just explain what those numbers are, where it says 24, 27, 25. That would be every district office employee that is in one of those departments that I mentioned earlier, superintendent's office, curriculum instruction, and so on. That includes administrators. So that would be, your director of finance or your assistant superintendent for HR or all those different titles. And different districts have different titles depending on how their superintendent does their org chart. But district offices are primarily made up of administrators or support people that support those offices. So a lot of clerical staff, a lot of administrators at those district positions. And those 3 districts have 24, 27, and 25 employees out of those categories. Well, if you look at Marlboro, it has 45. And Marlboro, student population-wise, is the smallest of those 4. This year's budget was planned to spend $1.4 million into the fund balance. I would venture a guess that if Marlboro's number was just 27, matched the highest of those other 3, there's no budget deficit. Because school administrators, people are surprised when you see how much it costs to have any employee, not just a school administrator, but a school administrator or a district administrator may make $85,000, $90,000, $100,000. But in a school district, when you look at benefits associated with that salary, a school district pays about 25% just to PIBA for that employee's retirement. That's not even getting into FICA taxes and insurance costs, which are huge. So you could pay for an employee that was paid $100,000, the budget cost to the school district may be $140,000, $145,000. So that chart, and that's what I gave you, the handout that Ms. Quick just gave you. That is specific, and that is me going line by line and talking to the superintendents to make sure I captured all of their employees, and then looking in Marlboro County. But I would argue that a good portion of our budget struggles in Marlboro County are reflected in that chart that I just gave you. And that is really all we have at this point to publicly present. We'll certainly be happy to try to answer any questions or give board members time for comments. But I've certainly been working with Dr. Tiller and her staff, and we're committed to continue doing that, to make as many changes as we can during this school year. But the goal would be that as you guys approve a budget in the late winter, early spring, that we have a balanced budget. And it really shouldn't even just be balanced. We need to build the fund balance up. So what we'd like to do is plan a budget that would be $500,000 to $1 million to the good, so that we can see that $5.5 million fund balance grow to the point where we're not worried about making payroll in November and December. We're not worried about having to withhold payments to PIBA, where we have enough in our savings account to just make that routine practice to make sure we're financially stable.
Well, your opening statements, one of your opening statements was that a budget for a school district is 85% or better salary for employees. Then you turn around and you're showing us that we are, I hate to say the word, but overstaffed. So that means we've got to cut back people to get to that board, because that 15% we don't have.
Yep.
It's the 85% of people. So we're going to have to cut someone out to get to that budget.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is that what I'm understanding you're saying also?
Absolutely.
Yes, anytime a district has a budget deficit, it most certainly will be people, because it's very rare that that other 10 to 15% of a school district budget is very negotiable. When you get a power bill for this building, it's probably 5 figures per month.
Yeah, it's cut and dry most of the time.
So, but you can't go to the power company and say, hey, can we only pay 2/3 of that this month? I mean, you pay your bill. So that 10 to 15% that's outside of personnel is usually fairly fixed.
Okay.
And while you can trim it, if you trim a little bit from only 15% of your budget, you're not making substantial changes. So yes, to greatly affect the school district budget almost always involves personnel.
And Dr. Thornton, I just want to tell you, appreciate you coming with the information in on this, and we know we have work to do, and I appreciate the Department of Education coming in and helping us out with this. And I know this is the first full update that the board has had. And,
Yes.
we're willing to do whatever we need to do to get the budget right, so that we can focus on making sure that we can be able to make payroll and our children be able to be educated, and to work with the Department of Education to make the wrong right. Well, things I know that we already seen some plans, stuff that Dr. Tiller has already talked to us about and expressed to us. But as long as we have updates and the board, we're willing to move forward to help out and make sure that we do what we have to do to get back in compliance with it.
Thank you. And
I got one more. If I could.
Okay.
I don't mean to monopolize everything, but I got one more. You showed me that, and I made a comment on it, on what we were spending. It went from 30 million to 40 million, then to 45 million.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And what I'm hearing from you now, you made a comment. You said that was during COVID, that it might have been capital improvement or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm hearing from you, if I'm understanding correctly, it may have been some capital improvement, but a lot of it is right back to what I said, employees. That 10 million increase or that 12 million increase on our outgoing bills, correct?
So I cannot speak authoritatively on how Marlboro spent its COVID money. I was not here and I have not studied that since being here. I will tell you that the school districts that I'm aware of, I'm from the upstate, the district I worked in and the neighboring districts that I was around primarily spent COVID money on one-time expenditures, capital, upgrading HVAC systems and things like that, and didn't try to put people into it because we knew COVID money was going to stop.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if during that time Marlboro hired a bunch of new people and then at the end of COVID, the money ran out and the people were still there. That's a
exactly-
possibility.
But that's a possibility.
That's exactly what happened.
But I guess my closing comment, and I do want to just acknowledge that Superintendent Weaver's in the room. She came. This is very important to her. I'll be honest, I've been a little bit surprised when I was hired as the technical assistance provider here. I didn't really expect to speak to Superintendent Weaver a lot. She's been very involved. She's on our Zoom calls. She and I have texted several times and communicated several times. She's very interested and invested in Marlboro County schools. But the thing that she told me when we were first discussing this position for me was, I don't want to see personnel taken away from students. And I would encourage each of you to make every effort to keep school staff. I know in a couple of situations right now, we've got first grade classes, 28, 29, kindergarten, I think over 30. That's not where cuts need to take place. And I don't think it has to get the budget in balance.
As far as the classroom sizes, the state standard staffing standard is 30-1.
Yes, but I will say the state staffing guidelines are, they are there just as a last resort. The 30-1, I'm not aware of a district anywhere in our state that targets 30-1 just because the state says you can. Yes, the state says you can because the state knows it's got districts all around South Carolina that have different financial capabilities and they go through tough times like this. So maybe in a time like this for a year or two, you have to do something like that, but it is certainly not, it's not the State Board of Education saying we want our first grade classes to have 29 students in it. That is not why that standard is there. It's just, you can't exceed this. We hope you can do a whole lot better. And I don't know of a school district anywhere that uses the state maximums as its goal.
We just want clear guidance on that because,
It's legal. It's not desired. It's not what's best for students.
Well,
okay.
I want some clarity on that then, because with our classes being jam-packed right now, we were told that the state approved that plan.
Right.
So
I was advised by the state group that came to us back during the summer that we maximize our classes, that we should apply the 1-to-30 ratio because of the financial situation we find ourselves in. So that was the advice I was given.
So I don't know any other way to say it, is that the folks that came from the State Department would assert that they didn't say apply this, just that these are the maximums. Again,
Do you have that?
neither
right?
here nor there. I'm not trying to get into
Okay.
to that.
Good.
I'm just saying, as an educator, it is certainly not best practice to have 29 first graders in a class.
I agree.
That we want that to be a lot less. And as I've examined the staffing here, I think it could be less and still meet our budget obligations.
Dr. Thornton, as Mr. Coachman stated, we do appreciate the assistance that we're getting. And I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad the state superintendent is also here so we can have a little better clarity in our role and which direction we are going in. But hearing you say that 30-1 is written in the state guidelines, but you don't have to do it. And I remember being on the board previously, some years back, when we had a RIF in place, and that was back in early part of 2000, where we did that. And we used the staffing guidelines for the state to reduce our administrative staff down, and we used it in other areas like that. But I'm hearing that it's there, but we don't have to do what's written for the state staffing. That's what I'm hearing. I mean, I know you're not saying for us to go out and believe me, I have been one of the advocates on the board to make sure we have smaller class sizes.
Right.
But at the same time, when we are in the position we're in, and I know we was looking to try to do the best we can with what we had. And I know since the state takeover in July the 18th, the state takeover, and it's basically been our understanding, as my understanding, I can't speak for the other board members. It's basically been my understanding with the takeover of that the state either had to approve whatever we did or they had all to say in the financial matters in this financial takeover. My understanding was the state would just take over that part. And I do realize that far as staffing is concerned, I know we have a lot of certified people that have signed contracts, and I know we are coming up on the budget process again to where we can make all these changes that's being suggested, when it comes time for a new contract for all these people. I do understand that and us moving forward with that. But I just want to make sure that we are clear that this is also something that the state is looking for us to do.
Yes. So, and I'm glad you asked that, because I've had it said to me, recently, I'll just say, y'all just tell us what to do and we'll do it, indicating a willingness to cooperate, which is great. I've been in Marlboro County for 2 months, and it has been a warm welcome. And the people of Marlboro County are wonderful. And it's been a great experience. But I've known people for 2 months. I can't tell you who needs to be here and who needs to be there. I don't know everyone well enough to make those judgment calls. What I can tell you is, looking at your district staffing, you got too many people. Yeah. So I can say your instruction department, to me, I mean, if you look at that chart, that's the one that stands out the most. If you look at that, I can say that's what I would call, as an experienced educator, way overstaffed. I can't tell you, well, this person needs to be here, this person needs to be there. I just haven't been here long enough, and I don't think that's the role of the State Department of Education in this. I think the State Department wants approval, but the planning and the implementation, all that has to be done with local leadership, including Dr. Tiller, her administration, but also you guys as leaders. As board members, you're leaders. And you've got to take the information that we're giving and saying, okay, here's a good plan. But I can tell you, to get a balanced budget, it's going to mean reducing positions.
Yes, I agree with that, and I'm glad you said that, because I wanted to make sure we were working in tandem with the superintendent on this, because we're looking to move our students forward in their academic. And I just think it would be a good thing that superintendent is involved and bring it back to the board on how best we think the cabinet or the department can be structured, that we can keep our children moving forward, because we don't want our children to lose any gains that they made this year because of something that we're doing.
Well, I have something I want to ask. With our class sizes being so large, what baffles me the most is that the teachers that were moved they weren't let go, so we didn't save any money in that area. They were put into interventionist and other type positions, which may be funded differently, I understand, but that's only a drop in the bucket when it comes to the deficit that we're facing in comparison to the number of staff members we have at district level that we have not budged one single bit on. And instead we overpopulated our class sizes. Is there a way to correct that ASAP?
So I would say, and I'm glad y'all brought up the staffing, because I know there are a lot of people behind me listening to this meeting who probably work for the school district and might have concern about jobs, and there may be people that watch the video later. I would tell you, I think in any year, a problem like this can probably be solved with attrition, just normal retirement and people leaving, moving different places, that type thing. I don't think this necessarily would require a RIF where people are actually let go. Now, in South Carolina, we do have a provision that allows retirees to come back, and when they come back, they're at-will employees. So there are, 35 to 40 at-will employees here. So that would certainly be something that could be considered. But I don't want anybody to think that the State Department's here saying, oh, go cut a bunch of employees. We think some targeted movements could be made between now and December to save probably six figures in our budget this year. But the majority of the changes need to take place between now and the time you give third and final approval to your budget for the 26-27 school year.
That's in July.
When the majority of it needs to take place. And there may be people that work here now in one position that Dr. Tiller or her staff may have to say, you know what, we need you instead of doing this job to do this job. But that's just kind of normal life in a school district. That happens all over the state every day. Yeah. And I think that can be accomplished here to keep resources closest to students.
Yeah.
And I want to ask, at our next board meeting, could we add to our agenda that we change, I asked an email and I did not get a response. Could we change our policy so that every single hire passes through our hands and not just certified staff?
You talking about classified also?
Every staff member. Other districts do it that way.
Well, that's something we can do that next board meeting, put on the agenda, and it has to go through several readings.
I think in light of the circumstances, that would probably be, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think that'd probably be advised by the State Department.
Could be best.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
I'd just like to clarify one thing, Dr. Thorsland. I know that you were not with us back during the summer, but my entire senior team were present when we were told that we could no longer afford to have classrooms with 10 children and a teacher, 14 children and a teacher. And what I shared then is that our district policy has always been 25 to 1. Mm-hmm. In our lower grades, it was 15 to 1, maybe 20 if we had to. We would not have taken that time to do that if we were not led to believe that that's what we were to do. But so if I misunderstood it, my entire senior team misunderstood it as well.
I hear you, and I understand application of the state guidelines. Mm-hmm. However, the first grade situation I'm aware of, there were 4 first grade teachers and 60 students. So that would have been 15 to 1 for 4 teachers. And because of, I think, maternity leaves, that had gone down to 3 teachers, so that's 20 to 1. But when one of the 3 was then moved to another school, that made it close to 30 to 1. And my understanding is that teacher may have gone to a non-teaching position, and that to me is yeah.
I want to go back to the COVID funding a little bit, Dr. Thorson. We was talking about the COVID funding and during the COVID funding years that we had the funds, and I know a lot of jobs was added during that time, and salaries and even days and contracts, and they never were taken back. But for us, the funding and how it was spent, Mr. Rodriguez, you was on the board also with me at the time. The board really never had any say so at that time of how the COVID money was spending when we first got it. So just like, a lot of people don't know how it was spending. The board didn't know how it was being spent either.
Yeah, and I realized that was a different
Yes, sir.
administration.
Yes,
So
sir.
I'm not here to
I understand.
cast stones and say this person did a good job, this person did a bad job, but the
Me neither.
fact remains that
We
there are
gotta
too
get it
many
right.
people. And I would say it would be good for you guys to see every staffing change, at least for a while, until the district gets back on good financial footing, because I think then you can see who's leaving, who's coming to replace that person. If there could be a need for a new position at some point, but you guys should see the justification for it and approve it before a new person's hired.
Okay.
Dr. Thorson, I have a few questions as well. So I know tonight, this is the first update that we received. Should we expect this monthly or every other month?
So we had this discussion with the State Department. I think we're willing to come as much as you would request of us. I do think every couple of months it would probably be good for us to come regularly, but if you want us here more, I think we're certainly willing to do that. I'm planning to be in the district at least 3 or 4 days a week, as long as they'll let me come. So yeah, we and Miss Grant's the same way. And I wish she was here. Y'all could meet her. She's been a great team member, and she's really, really sharp. She's doing with Mr. Benjamin's resignation. She's shouldering quite a load in the finance office, helping keep things running. But she's been great, and we're both planning to be here as long as it takes.
Okay.
And as we're looking at without micromanaging, what are some things that the board needs to look at once we finish and go through this process? What are some things that we need to make sure we're definitely monitoring closely so that we can avoid this in the future?
So the very first chart, and we'll make sure that you get this presentation after the meeting, but I think the first chart that I put up just showed like a 7-year history of the budget and the fund balance. And if I read the audits right, every year there was a plan to spend fund balance to balance the budget. Now, some years it didn't materialize because revenues were higher than anticipated, so it didn't always come out that way. But the plan was going into the budget year that we're going to spend fund balance. So my first thing to the school board, stop planning budgets where you're spending in the fund balance. Now, if your fund balance ever got up to $25 million and you're like 60% of your budget or something like that, then a very specific targeted plan to reduce the fund balance may be in order. But year in, year out, we got to get out of this spending fund balance to balance the budget.
Okay. Thank you. I think we are very well informed, and really appreciate the information, and I'm quite sure the board is really with it. Superintendent, ready to do what we got to do to move the district forward and get in compliance with our fund balance. Thanks, Dr. Thorson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thorson.
Sweet one. Superintendent of Education, Sweet, would you like to have a moment? Introduce yourself. Are you okay? What you say?
Executive session.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to make sure. All right, that being said, need a motion to go in executive session, receipt of legal advice regarding the South Carolina Department of Education and the financial operational of the district. Also receipt of legal advice regarding the superintendent's evaluation.
Mr. Chair,
Sir, Mr. Jones.
I move that we go into executive session to receive legal advice regarding South Carolina Department of Education, financial operation of the district, and advice regarding the superintendent's evaluation.
You have a second?
I have a second.
All in favor? Let me know by raising your right hand. We are now in executive session.
Mr. Coachman, I would ask that you would ask that no staff members be in the office.
Don't tell them. Just talk to them.
Okay.
Sit on the microphone.
Staff members.
Mark's not still.
I don't know.
She gone.
Huh?
No, that's it.
About her sister. She walked out tired of waiting on us.
Yep. She might have said, I'm going to watch Monday Night Football. I ain't waiting on this.
You're not gonna watch the Blue Jays and the Mariners?
No, I don't watch baseball.
I'm a Dodger fan. That's illegal. It's,
All right.
okay.
Need a motion to go back into open session?
I move that we go back into open session.
In a second.
Second?
All in favor, let them know, raise your right hand. We're now back in open session. No actions were taken. No decisions were made in the executive session. Thomas?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move that the board, reconsider and rescind the action taken at our last, meeting and related to the board having an option to extend the superintendent's contract in regard to the ownership of the superintendent district vehicle.
Okay, a motion to rescind the motion for the option and the car. Do I have a second on that?
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor, let me know, raise your right hand. All opposed? Anyone? Motion passed. Dr. McLeod, get a vote on that?
He's out there.
Went down again. How many you got?
Unanimous.
Okay, unanimous? Okay, we're good. All right, let's prove it.
I'd like to make a motion that the board adopt a resolution that has been prepared and reviewed in executive session regarding our partnership with South Carolina State Department of Education to stabilize district finances and align staffing standards. I so move.
Second?
Have a motion and a second to accept the resolution. School district partnering with the South Carolina Department of Education with a resolution. Any discussion? All in favor, let me know by raising your right hand. Motion to carry.
Is it my turn?
Mr. Driggin?
If it's my turn, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Motion during the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, let me know by raising your right hand. Meeting is adjourned.